The James Show Podcast.
Muted humility today because a guy that, I don't know him and you don't know him, but we are aware of this guy and his work has influenced our lives. Ozzy Osbourne passed away. And I know it's not really that big of a deal, as in it doesn't affect my life or your life one bit. But still, a guy that we're all familiar with, and this is one of those markers where, celebrities die every day, but this is one of the big ones. Helping me kick this off today is Dr. Robert Thompson. He's a professor of pop culture at Syracuse University. Now, I need a little assist on this one because, given my age, Ozzy Osbourne's this guy that got interviewed by Geraldo for being satanic in the 80s, got interviewed by Conan for having a reality show, a few years after that. I didn't really know him as the Black Sabbath guy. What did I miss?
Yeah, well, he'd been around a long time. The late 1960s, he begins to emerge. And Black Sabbath was part of a whole, the Prince of Darkness, this whole image that he had was something, and it was kind of a specialty of musical interest. But he was a big, huge presence among that emerging heavy metal type of music and performance and art and all of the rest of it. But we had people who have been Ozzy Osbourne fans from the beginning. But then his career took this extraordinary turn in 2002. He'd been at this a while. He was already getting a bit doddering by this time. And then on MTV, this reality show with his wife, his two kids, and the whole house filled with dogs, none of which seem to have been
potty trained.
Yeah, right, exactly. And they come out with the Osbournes, which is debuts just about the 6-month anniversary of September 11th. And it was kind of an example about how everything had gotten back to normal. People thought September 11th was going to make us more serious and sincere. And 6 months after, one of the most kind of goofiest television shows of all time. And even though many, many people who had never heard Crazy Train or any other title that Ozzy was known for, he becomes this beloved father of essentially a family reality sitcom sort of thing. It went for, 4 seasons, a little more than 50 episodes, and not only did it bring a whole batch of people who hadn't turned on MTV since Flock of Seagulls had been in rotation, but it also brought a whole bunch of people to Ozzy Osbourne who wouldn't know Black Sabbath from a hole in the wall.
Does Black Sabbath get the credit for being the first heavy metal band?
Well, whenever anybody says the first anything, it's never right. But certainly when people start talking about Black Sabbath, you don't go too many, or when people start talking about heavy metal, you don't go too many sentences in before Black Sabbath gets named.
So Ozzy Osbourne no longer with us, 76. We already knew he was having some health issues, so I guess there's no big surprise here. What happened?
No, I think the surprise for many people was a guy like Ozzy Osbourne, who, of course, went through a portion of his life with some probably relatively poor lifestyle choices. The fact that he made it to 76 is, I think, kind of amazing. He also had, performance problems. He had all kinds of issues.
All right, and addiction among them. Dr. Robert Thompson from Syracuse University.
There you go.
Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, that was a place where listening to the Osbournes, the beeps were so frequent. It was like listening to a telegraph message coming in.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate the assist there. This is Dr. Robert Thompson from Syracuse University. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we're remembering Ozzy Osbourne. Great musician, generational musician. Some of his, my favorite songs of his, Ozzy Osbourne is... What? Oh, that's not... who is that? Iron Maiden. Oh, I hit the wrong button. Hang on. All right, some great Ozzy Osbourne music. Oh, wait, who's that? Oh, that's Led Zeppelin. Oh, no. Look, it's this other button. Hang on, I got it this time. Yeah, here, just to remember on the day of his passing, rock legend Ozzy Osbourne. I wish Oh, wait, I think that's the Oak Ridge Boys. Hey, easy mistake. People make that mistake. All the time. I know. I'm just trying to give Bruce a stroke. That's all. All right, here's an actual Black Sabbath song. Now, this is a song that's been in every third commercial that you saw from about 1990 to 2010. It shows up in video games. My kids probably know this song. It was in Rock Band and Guitar Hero, and this is one of soundtrack of your life songs. Whether you like it or not, whether you want to hear it again or not, you're going to hear this song about 12,000 more times before you're done with this mortal coil and you join Ozzy Osbourne. I don't know, probably. Think Ozzy Osbourne went to heaven? Wouldn't that be ironic if the Prince of Darkness is in heaven right now? You think he'd be mad? He's like, come on, man, I did all that work. Well, of course he was a believer in God. Half his songs are about Satan. So you have to believe in God. You can't just believe in Lex Luthor and not Superman. Thank you. I have the approval now from Garrett. Do you have any Ozzy memories? I'm going to share one with you real quick. This is kind of the first time Ozzy Osbourne was on my radar. I didn't know his music. I'm from Bug Tussle, and it was just a little bit before my time. But he did come up on my TV every once in a while. Here he is on Geraldo in 1988. Having to swear, no, dude, I'm not satanic. I'm not telling kids to kill people.
Ozzy, I'm glad you're on the program. I'll interview you in greater detail in a couple of minutes. The one thing I have to ask you now, though, is, of course, the vast majority of your fans and the fans of heavy metal music are not Satanists. But there is no doubt, at least not in our reporting, that that heavy metal music plays a role. Every single kid whose case we know about, who committed a violent act in Satan's name, was also into heavy metal music. What's your response to that, Ozzy?
Well, I don't really know. All I do is make music. You know, I don't sit down and purposely plan to freak everybody out. I mean, I always have played heavy metal music. I suppose when I was younger and I started writing songs, my world was kind of dark and dingy. You know, I came from a working class family who had nothing, no dough, no prospect of ever having much money, and so that's how I saw the world as a child. And so, I mean, not all my songs are about Satanism.
Roger in Palestine, you're on WBAP.
Hey, yeah, 1988 or 89, I was a teenager, and Ozzy had booked the Oil Palace in Tyler.
Whoa,
and
I know the Oil Palace.
Yeah, we were all pumped up about it and everything else. And evidently, either Tyler or Smith County raised so much heck about him, and that was during his back episode deal and whatever.
Well, that was
for the concert.
Yeah. So actually, man, Roger, what are you, my neighbor? So actually, this is the first time Ozzy Osbourne was on my radar because someone brought it up in my church, in the 17th Baptist Church, Bug Tussle. There was a concern that there was a murmur around the congregation. Well, Ozzy Osbourne's going to be playing at the Oil Palace. What are we going to do? We can't let this guy happen. He calls himself the Prince of Darkness. He's trying to spread Satanism among our kids. And there's all these. Well, then there was killers that had Ozzy Osbourne paraphernalia. He got like you heard Geraldo asking about it. There was some sort of moral pearl clutching panic about Ozzy Osbourne in the 80s, and that concert at the Oil Palace, I remember that, and I remember that getting canceled. But I mean, I was 10, so I was like, "Who is this guy?" And they're like, "He peed on the Alamo," and I'm like, "Well, then he's a terrible person."
That was brought up too, yeah.
Did he ever actually do that? He didn't actually pee on the Alamo, did he, Roger?
I don't know, but what I do know is he did snort a line of ants in, I think it's Florida or something. But I've always been an Ozzy fan. I mean, I'm not satanic. Yeah, I don't think he was either. He's just making money. But even as a teenager, I mean, he's awesome.
Making some music too. Let's see. No, here it is. Was Ozzy Osbourne arrested for peeing on the Alamo? Sorry to be so gross on the radio show, y'all, but no, that is an incorrect story. Let's see. And he did end up making a donation to the Daughters of the Alamo. I don't know what that's for. Yeah, Ozzy Osbourne stopped to urinate on the way back to his hotel. Yeah, that's not. There's an epitaph there, though, but it's not on the Alamo. They actually put an epitaph where he actually peed that night, and it wasn't On the Alamo. This is so dumb. All right. Thank you for sharing, Roger. Good walk down memory lane. We're idiots, aren't we? Like, this is the stuff that's important to you when you're a kid. You look back now and you're like, yeah, we were dumb. We were pretty dumb. All right, here's Ozzy Osbourne telling Conan O'Brien a story about going to a coffee shop in Texas. And I'm only playing this because it has a Texas connection and figured you'd think this was funny how it ends.
And so we get into this hotel, and I said to this guy, Larry, I said, Larry, go and get me a doctor. I want a doctor for around 12 o'clock, you know.
A doctor. Okay.
A throat doctor. So I got up, I went to bed at about 7, and I got up about 11, and went downstairs to the coffee shop, and I said to this Larry...
Hang on a second. This is in the late 90s. This is before the reality show. He sounds absolutely wrecked, and he's not even 50 yet. Like, in this interview, he's my age. And this is... Man, this guy was on a bunch of stuff or something. I don't know. Hey.
Larry, go and tell the guy at the reception that when the ear, nose, and throat guy comes, I'll be in the coffee shop. Now, unbeknownst to me, the coffee shop had been staked out with all these evangelists. So I'm sitting in a coffee shop drinking coffee, and there's crazy Vietnam.
I like the idea of you walking into a Texas coffee shop.
I was like, that was a movie there somewhere. You come here, boy.
Yeah. And so you're having your coffee.
I'm sitting there having my coffee, and this guy's like keeping guard like a good terrier, you know. Mm-hmm. And this guy comes over to me, and he's got a smart suit and a jacket on and a tie and whatever. And he goes, "Are you Mr. Ozzy Osbourne?" I think he's a doctor. And I go, "Oh, yeah." And he goes, "Put Jesus in front of you." And they all start jumping on me. Of course, he's been... And I'm like thinking, my God, what's going on? It comes as a show. All these people are strategically planning it. Sure. Like attacking me. And this guy turns into Rambo. Starts throwing them through all the walls and breaking chairs. And I'm going, Larry, don't kill. We don't kill today.
We don't kill today. That's the... Maybe tomorrow we kill, but not today. Now,
so between Ozzy Osbourne and Keith Richards, is there any drugs left? Keith Richards, by the way, 81 years old. The thing that makes this part so tough is you hear how blasted his brain is before he's 50, right? How am I supposed to tell my kids don't do drugs? Don't do drugs. Wow, you might live to be 76. You might be rich and famous and a rock star. I mean, Keith Richards, look at him, 81, still out toured and whatnot. Between them and Willie Nelson, man, we just got to hide these guys from the kids. They don't need to see what that's like until maybe they're 30 or so. All right, if you have any Ozzy stories, this is the only day I'll take them. But today does seem quite appropriate. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I do get a chuckle out of thinking if Ozzy went to heaven, like, would he be mad about it? It's like, well, this looks so cheerful and bright and happy. It's breaking my heart. This is Blair in Fort Worth. Hey, Blair.
How you doing?
What's up? Tell me your Ozzy story.
Well, 2005, I went to Ozfest with some buddies, and I wore a black straw cowboy hat out there. And he was opening up. He was Black Sabbath reunion. And I'd made my way down to the floor. I was probably about 30 feet from the stage, dead center. And I was waiting for them to come on. Well, they came on, and I think it was the fifth song they did. I got excited, and I just took my cowboy hat off, and I did one of those kind of backwards frisbee throws, and it just went soaring, and it landed on the floor between his mic and his monitor. And he looked down at it, threw his hands up in the air, and the place went wild. He picked it up, put it on his head, wobbled over to one corner of the stage and got everybody going. And then he wobbled back over to the other side of the stage and, got everybody going.
Wobbled. You're a fan and you're saying wobbled.
Well, he had the Ozzy walk back then even.
Oh, it was a wobble. He walked like a penguin. He kind of walked like a penguin.
Well, yeah, he had that walk. And once he got back to the mic, this is where the story is true. I swear to God, this hat is still hanging in my game room with the ticket stub in it. But this is where it's unbelievable. This is why I'm telling you the story. He took the hat off and he threw it back out into the crowd, and it came right in my direction. And me,
Shut up.
I swear, me and 5 other guys jumped up for it. Me and 2 other guys grabbed a hold of it, luckily on the same side of the hat. It's all crushed on that side of the hat. We came down with it, and they started fighting me for it. And I was yelling over. We were all bent over. I was yelling out, "It's mine!" And I got it back. And I left. I went back up to the ice club, and a couple of buddies of mine were in there where it's air conditioning, watching the show on the TV. And I walked in. I felt 10 feet tall. I walked in. I said, "Did you see it? Did you see it?" And he said, "See what?" I said, "The hat." He said, "That was you?"
I bet you crushed some Marlboro Reds and had 6 Schlitzes, sir. Now, do you think this was more an act of God that the hat was returned to you, or an act of Satan?
I don't know what it was an act of. It's still hard to believe that it worked out that way. But I've got a cowboy hat hanging in my game room with Ozzy DNA on it, and I got the ticket stub and it's just one of my prized possessions. I've been a fan since I was, probably 8 years old, and it's just sad to hear that he finally passed. But I knew it was coming.
Oh, of course, we're all mortal. But man, I'm getting a kick out of just hearing how happy you are telling that story. Thank you very much for sharing, Blair.
Well, you're welcome. I feel good telling it. I've told it to a lot of people. Some people look at me like I'm full of it, and all I can say is I swear it's the truth.
Well, look, I'm not a huge Ozzy fan. It's not like I hate the guy. I just never really got into it. But you can't help but be in a good mood when you hear someone tell a story with that much happiness wrapped up in it. You're great, Blair. Thank you, sir. Scott Rowlett, your Ozzy story. Go.
Yeah, I owned Gale Exterminating. I was like 16, 17 years old in St. Louis, Missouri. And Kevin Butler, the bass guitarist for Black Sabbath, responded to one of my coupons. I go to his house and spray his house. And as I go down into the basement, to spray, I'm looking around and here's all these guitars and all this Black Sabbath stuff. And I just didn't even put the connection together. I see the last name of Butler on my, order. So it's about 1:00 in the afternoon. I'm finished. I go upstairs, and then Kevin Butler comes in to square up with me, and I recognize him. I'm like, oh my goodness. Okay. So bottom line, I end up sitting around and partying with the guy for about an hour.
And how did it end? You just hung out and had a few beers, or was there more than beers?
It was more than beers. I never sent any of the guys that worked for me to his house. I always went there.
All right. Everyone else want to call in, tell your drug stories with Ozzy Osbourne, 800-288-9227. Congratulations, Scott. That sounds awesome.
It was fun.
Thank you. Brad, Louisville, you're on WBAP.
Hey, James, how's it going today?
It's a fun day.
It's a sad day for me. I got a good Ozzy story. 1981, I was a senior in high school. Ozzy's going on tour for the first time for his solo career. And me and a couple of my buddies, it was the spring of 81, we all had a dead uncle at the same time. And we more or less chased Ozzy up and down the East Coast. And the last show was in Knoxville, Tennessee that we all attended. We're down front and center. And Ozzy comes out to start the show. He looks down and he goes, "Hey, mates, it's you again." Had to be there, brother.
Wow. So he remembered you from the shows.
From the prior shows for about 2 weeks. We were at every show.
Well, that's pretty sweet. All right, Brad. Thanks for sharing that awesome memory, sir. Thank you.
All right, man. Take care.
Yeah, that'll mess with your head when someone that you think is famous actually recognizes you. That happens a little bit in this job. Every once in a while, someone gotta be like, "Didn't I meet you in something or other?" Yep. I'm amazed. I'm even on your radar. Like when the Tiger King, when he called into the show, he's like, "No, we listen to you every day." We're over here in the facility where he's in prison right now. It's like, wow, Tiger King actually knows I exist. That's awesome. An exclusive so far that I've seen from only the DallasExpress.com. You probably heard my friend Chris Putnam from Dallas Express on quite a bit, but I thought we'd have on the guy who's writing the stories over here about Dart. This is Logan Washburn. Welcome to the James Show. Is Dart trying to bribe suburbs to restore their funding, sir? Tell me more.
Well, thank you so much for having me on the show. To start with, we have to kind of understand the situation that DART is in right now. It's roughly $3 billion in debt. And recently, there's been a lot of activity over DART cuts. Everyone's talking about they're going to cut services. It's going to be the largest cuts in history. Well, those cuts are coming because DART agreed earlier this year to send part of their revenue back to 7 member cities. Well, now the member cities are expressing some concerns about things like crime, safety. They wrote Governor Abbott recently about that. Now DART is holding that funding that is causing these large service cuts over the mayor's heads, essentially saying, to receive this funding, you have to ask for the money and promise you won't pursue any legislation that will cut our funding. All that to say, the mayors take the money and promise to not pursue legislation against DART is what they asked. And we obtained an exclusive letter from DART chair Gary Slagle to the mayors of these member cities explaining exactly that, asking them to take the money in exchange for not pursuing reforms.
Okay, Logan Washburn, that sounds like a bribe, but I'm not a lawyer. Legally speaking, does that count as bribe?
I mean, there's definitely some gray area here, but I can tell you that when we're speaking to the mayors, the way they're taking it is as kind of hush money. That's what they are telling us. And it's offended a lot of them who have worked with DART for a while. I can't say right now, but we have another story coming up about a member city that is frustrated with this letter and the message that it's sending. So be on the lookout for that. And a lot of these cities were frankly insulted by the letter.
All right, we're talking with Logan Washburn from the Dallas Express, dallasexpress.com. How did you get these inside emails? Is this public records or was this leaked? How did it get in your hands?
So when you talk to sources on the ground who are receiving the letters or involved in city government, sometimes they're just willing to share what they're running across. So I can't explicitly say my source, but I can say that it was from someone who's very involved in the situation.
So did all of the suburbs get one of these letters or one of these authors they can't refuse, or was this just targeted at a few big ones?
This was targeted to the 7 cities who are set to receive those, they call it GMP, General Mobility Program funds. So it was 7 suburbs that received the letter, and the letter essentially got sent around. So the members of DART are all in the loop on this.
All right, well, what's this late legislative action they're worried about?
So there were a couple of bills that were brought forth during the legislative session. I don't believe they're included in special session coming up here, but they essentially would have done a couple of things. They would have essentially required 1 member per every member city on the DART board, which currently some suburbs are forced to share a single representative, while Dallas has a vast majority on the board. So that was one of those measures. And then another one would have allowed cities to take 25% of their sales tax revenue and then send it to other programs aside from DART. So it essentially would have given cities a choice of where to send some of that funding to where they feel it can be better used.
Wait, so did DART get cut in this last legislative session? Because I'm under the impression that DART has some cuts coming.
Yeah, so they did not get cut, but certain mayors wrote Governor Abbott asking him to put these bills in the special session. Now, where the cuts are actually coming from is that money that's now being offered to the cities to essentially get them to quiet down. So that's what's causing all of these cuts. It's the money they're taking to get cities to leave them alone.
I hear you. All right. So we're talking with Logan Washburn from Dallas Express, dallasexpress.com. Is there going to be some sort of consequences for making this offer?
I mean, it depends how you define consequences. A lot of the mayors are getting together and saying, look, this is unfair how they're treating us. It's not an elected body. DART doesn't elect members of the board. They're all appointed. And so the mayors are getting together and saying that they're not happy with how DART is treating them as actual elected representatives. But in terms of like legal repercussions, I haven't heard anything on that front.
Yeah, well, I don't know what it would be called, like an offer to have a kickback within a collateral funding scheme. So yeah. I have a feeling, though, this may sound shocking to the average North Texas resident, but this is kind of how the sausage is made. Is this business as usual from your observation?
I mean, it's hard to say exactly, but I can say for sure that DART has had its share of financial kind of scandals in the past. Several board members were under the public spotlight in recent years for using public funds for what were likely private travel expenses. So that was one issue. But then also what we uncovered is the fact that many of these suburbs are putting in tens of millions of dollars more to DART than they're getting back in services. And it took 4 years of pushing DART for the agency to provide those numbers. We published a table in our story from a study that DART finally gave to the cities, showing exactly that. Cities like Carrollton, Farmers Branch, Plano especially, are putting in millions of dollars while getting fractions of that back. For example, in Plano, they contributed $109.6 million in sales taxes in 2023. That year, what they got back in services was just $44.6 million in services. So obviously it's a system where everyone contributes. There will be some things that are unbalanced, but the mayors are starting to realize it's hard to justify spending that much of their citizens' money.
You don't have to convince me. I hate DART with the hot heat of 1,000 suns. Logan Washburn, just in 30 seconds, what's your follow-up article that we can expect on Dallas Express?
Yeah, so we are currently working on a follow-up article. One of the member cities has passed a resolution to essentially send a letter to DART expressing its concerns and stating where it falls on this. This city hasn't been very vocal in the past, but now their city council has gotten together and decided that they are going to make a statement.
Well, I love your work. I love the story because I despise DART, and I think it's a bane to the taxpayers of North Texas, and can't wait to see them eventually be crumbled into the dust. Thank you, Logan Washburn from the Dallas Express, dallasexpress.com.
The James Show Podcast.